Everyone, welcome to Ballistic Banter. This is going to be your go-to podcast for pretty much everything dedicated to firearms. We're going to be going over everything from historical firearms and historical platforms to more modern platforms, which is what I'll be talking about. And then we're going to be going over plenty of legislation and policy. So we're going to cover pretty much everything firearms. Little brief background. My name is Garrett. I'll be the one talking about the more modern platforms. That's what I pay attention to pretty much in my everyday life. Tommy, you want to roll with it and go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Thomas, unlike Garrett, who focuses more on the modern stuff, I'm much more of a collector and researcher of the more older and historical platforms. I just find them cooler, the stories that come with the guns, the development. I just love getting into more of those details, because without them, most of the guns that Garrett shoots now, well, they wouldn't exist. So that's kind of what I bring to the table. Matt, what are you talking about with us?
So I like to focus more on the gun legislation and current affairs policies and all those things. And I'm also the producer and editor for Ballistic Banter, so I'm going to be the master behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, awesome. So first inaugural episode, boys. Are we excited?
Oh, I'm
excited. I'm excited for it. It's
very,
a good topic
very much.
Today, too. Today's topic is going to be something that I would hope everyone is familiar with, the Winchester Model 1897. The war crime itself, the Trent shotgun. So this is going to be Tommy's episode since he's Mr. Little Ian McCollum of the group. Tommy, without further ado, my man, go ahead and start.
Well, thank you, Garrett. And all of us lads growing up playing games like whether it was Call of Duty World at War, Red Dead Redemption. We all, or even watching any classic old Western movies, we've seen the Winchester 97. When you think of one of the most iconic pump action shotguns there are, you're probably thinking of the trench gun. And it's one of those things where the gun itself it stuck around forever. I think they produced them well into the 1960s, but it wasn't the first of its kind. Everybody always thinks of the 97 as like the iconic pump action, but before there was the Winchester, there was another gun known as the Spencer, model of 1884. And basically, again, if you ever played Red Dead, you know the Spencer repeating rifle. Christopher Spencer and another man by the name of Sylvester Roper got together and they built the world's first pump-action shotgun. So leave it to the Americans to make another leap in development in firearms tech. And Garrett, I'm sure you have much of great things to say, especially considering your skill in skeet and trap, I know.
Yeah, spent a couple years shooting trap and skeet for those who don't know. I used to compete in ATA, Tri-County, when I lived in Southern California, so I've shot my fair share of shotguns. Semi-auto platforms, pump platforms, kind of just honestly whatever I felt like doing. So, that inspiration with the Spencer shotgun is definitely something you can see in today. So,
and like a good skeet and trap shooting American, he fled that very, very unfortunate place known as California and came back to the promised land.
I'm gone now. Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, so basically you have the Spencer shotgun, which is kind of this revolution in firearms technology. It was so popular way back when that the U.S. Army even trialed this thing. And they're like, it's great. And Spencer's like, well, do you want to buy them? And they're like, not really. He's like, but you said it's a great shotgun. They're like, it is, but we don't know what we're doing with it. Like, the idea of like a military shotgun just, it didn't exist. There were guys who used it for skeet and trap, hunting. Of course, you've got the mail carriers and the bank carriers like Wells Fargo, for example, who would use it as, I guess, a personal close-range self-defense shotgun. But other than that, there was really no idea of, like, what we would consider a martial shotgun, kind of like the Benelli M4. Like, that didn't exist back then. And then in the 1890s, good old gun Jesus John Browning himself, he's like, I can do one better. Definitely can do one better.
John Moses Browning.
Hail John
Eugene
Moses.
Stoner heard me say that, he'd turn over in his grave, but...
Well, Eugene Stoner was Canadian, so it's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
Another topic for another day. Anyway, so Winchester is looking at this Spencer shotgun, and they're like, can we compete with that? And Browning's like, don't worry, guys, I got this. And, of course, he rolls out the 93 in 1893, of course. And then over the next 4 years or so, they keep making updates to it, some small, some major. And by the time you get to 1896, 1897, the shotguns are almost completely different. Not in terms of appearance or functionality, but in terms of parts. Like, you couldn't pull the pump itself off a 93 and put it on a 97. The parts were just no longer interchangeable. So they basically just said, all right, new model, this is the 97. And then this is really what would go on to dominate the market for the next 20 years as far as shotguns go. Remington couldn't compete. Bannerman tried but failed. And I mean, there really was no other sustainable pump action shotgun on the market. And of course, the U.S. Army comes calling back because we had taken over a large swath of land following the Spanish-American War in the Philippines, where the locals, much to the dismay of the people who lived there, were unhappy with their new occupiers. They're like, hooray, the Spanish are gone. And the Americans like, okay, we're here now. And they're like, why? Why are you still here? They're like, well, because we can. And it led to a lot of problems, especially in the American Army where everything was in 30 cal, the 30-40 Krag and the Colt New Model Armies in 38. Well, the locals had a special breed of guerrilla fighter known as German Taros. And these guys were, let's say, hard to put down. They wrap themselves in a binding-like material in order to cut off blood circulation to their arms, chest, legs, etc. So when the constabularies or the Marines guarding the islands would try to put them down when attacked, they wouldn't go down until one, I think it was a private or a sergeant, imported a Winchester riot gun, one of these pump actions. And they're like, okay, these are great. Can we get a lot more of these? And so that's really where this whole U.S. military shotgun comes to mind. And then, of course, about 10, 12 years later, World War I breaks out. The United States again finds itself getting involved in a conflict we didn't expect ourselves to get involved in. And as the American doughboys go over, everybody starts wondering, hey, this shotgun's kind of cool. We should use it. Until the Germans got all upset that we decided to start using them.
Get all butthurt about the use of a shotgun.
Yep. I mean, it takes a lot for when you're using, chemical warfare.
Mustard gas, chlorine gas.
To turn around and then say, hey, guys, I don't think you should use a shotgun because that's not fair.
That's unethical. You can't use a shotgun.
That really.
But let me toss some mustard gas at you.
That really hurts.
And melt your face off. It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Well, but like the other thing is, you stop and think about it. A German 210 millimeter shrapnel round is basically a giant shotgun shell, but it explodes over you, and that's fine. But some American, slackjaw from the streets of New York with 12 gauge buckshot in no man's land, that's unethical.
Don't forget the bayonet.
yeah, don't forget the bayonet. We can't forget that.
You have to hold them in place.
Yeah, exactly. You stab down on it and just rack those 7 off. So.
Well, I think it's absolutely hilarious though that you had the German ambassador basically pen a telegram to the Geneva Convention in The Hague, basically saying, "Look, we think you should, condemn this. Say the Americans are committing war crimes." And the Hague Convention is like, "Wait, aren't you the same people that bombed Belgium into oblivion? We don't talk about that. It didn't happen. It was all in acts of defense. We swear."
Yeah, it definitely, now that you mentioned the telegram thing, Germany doesn't really have good luck with telegrams, right? So that might be another episode for the Zimmerman telegram. But
dude, I would love to get my hands on that and actually see it or read about it.
Oh my
that'd be
God,
super cool.
Yeah, the Germans don't have a very good memory of history.
They just have poor execution in some
very
things.
poor execution.
It's more of a selective memory more than anything else. It's like they kind of remember it, but they kind of change the details in order to make it sound better than it actually was.
Yeah, hey, I'd probably choose not to remember some of that stuff too. So.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. Could be a hot take. I don't think it is, but
now we're banned in Germany.
Well, it's okay. I wasn't really planning on going there anyway. Although, dude, it would be kind of sick to go visit some breweries over there.
Oktoberfest.
That would be, that would be awesome.
That'd be sick.
That's the only reason I would ever go over there, is to Europe in general. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I'll leave that to the both of you. But anyway, I still think the funniest part of this whole story, though, it's not so much that they penned the telegram. It's the fact that the Germans actually made a release in the press. Like, they actually had this published in papers saying that any American soldiers caught by the Germans brandishing a shotgun of any description, because the Winchester wasn't the only model used in combat, or having shotgun shells on them, would be immediately executed on sight. And This didn't go over well with the Americans, especially. The Secretary of State, Robert Lansing, even released a response in the American newspapers and the world press, basically saying, if it is found out that any Americans are executed for wielding a shotgun by the Germans, we would return the favor tenfold.
Well, and that's part of it, right? It's like, you're gonna execute us if we have a shotgun. Well, what were you doing before then? You know, you were killing us regardless. We were killing you regardless. So it's kind of without additional threat. Now it's just you're really just putting it on the books for everybody that you're gonna get your ass kicked. So
Making it known. They're already taking the loser side. It's okay.
Yeah. I think it kind of stems from the fact that the Germans were a little upset that for 3.5 years before we even get involved, we spent billions of dollars. Well, we were getting paid billions of dollars, actually, by the Russians, the British, the Japanese, the French, the Belgians, the Italians, to just send them guns. I mean, we sent the Russians 2 million Mosin Nagants, the French about 15,000 Berthiers. We built thousands of Vickers, or tried to build thousands of Vickers for the British. Colt had a lot of problems back then. They don't like to talk about it. They're, again, selective memory, the gentleman over at Colt. But the point is, I think the Germans were just upset that the Allies were reaping the benefits of American industrial power, and the Germans were getting schmacked by it.
Tommy, here's my question to you, buddy. Are they upset about the usage of a shotgun in general, like the 1897, or are they upset that it was a slam fire and, simply didn't have a disconnect in there and, it makes it that much easier to slam and shoot?
Well, I think it was a little bit of both because there were two major trench guns, I say, that were used by American soldiers on the front in 1918 when we finally got there in force. The 97 and then the Remington Model 10. But if I remember correctly, I don't think the Model 10 had the slam fire ability, but the 97 did. Now, again, I think the Germans were just more upset that we finally had a weapon on par with their trench raiding techniques that could compete with the MP-18 and their grenade stormtroopers. And now, granted, if you ask me, that one feels more like a war crime than a shotgun shell. I mean, the Germans... the Germans literally would have these dedicated stormtroopers with, 2 burlap sacks slung over their shoulders filled with grenades. They'd crawl across no man's land to, within 20 yards, 15 yards of the trench and just start hucking these things. 4, 5, 6 grenades at a time to take the trench.
Dude, you know what that reminds me of, Tommy? Have you seen 300 #2? Where they're carrying those oil sacks when they're climbing up the boat and they have those, the archers with the flaming arrows. Dude, that's exactly what that reminds me of.
It might as well be, but I mean, you're gonna tell me that if somebody dropping you with a 12-gauge double-aught buck shell is a war crime, but throwing a 14-inch long stick grenade, 6, 7 at a time into a trench, one on top of the other. That's perfectly fine because grenades aren't lethal. They're just designed to inflict pain, which is the exact clause of Article 23 that the Germans were trying to cite for not using shotguns.
Yeah. It's just what I don't get is, functionality-wise, a lot of those shotguns are very similar. The only difference is that disconnector for that hammer, right? That's the only, functional difference that allows it to be slam fire over, as opposed to the other option that was there, right? So I just don't get the reason that they got all pissy and upset about it. It just doesn't make sense with simple functionality.
I think it was one of the first times they ever encountered it, so they were
probably scared the shit out of them.
Yeah, they probably stepped back and they're like,
dude, if I saw
what is this?
Dude, if I saw a freaking doughboy coming in the trenches, stabbing a bayonet, racking off some slam fire, dude, I'm turning around.
I did check my Mossberg 590A1. I know it's not. I literally opened my safe this morning and I said,
"Wait a minute,
what if?" And I tried, and I was
dude, my old 18, I think it's an 1887 Stevens pump action. It looks very similar to the 1897, the Winchester. It's a slam fire. I still have yet to try it because it's so old, and I don't want to fuck.
Is that your 22?
But no, it's not the 22. It's a 12 gauge, dude. It looks exactly like an 1887, just with a lot longer of a barrel, and the bolt that comes out of the back is just a tiny bit different.
Let's take it out.
Let's take, dude. I'm down to take it out, dude. I'm down. If you really
When
want to
they-
go try the
when-
slam fire, I'll break that thing down real quick.
When everyone
give it
comes
some
out,
oil.
next month. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Well,
Okay, for
so
sure. I'll bring
going,
it
but
down.
quickly going back to the skeet and trap shooting for a minute, Garrett. How good would you say your skeet and trap skills are?
Well, I've gone 100 for 100 a couple times, so that's
You think
cool.
you think you
I'd
could?
say
you
I was
think
pretty
you could,
good.
You think you could skeet
I
shoot?
was.
You think you could skeet shoot a stick grenade out of the air as it's being thrown at you?
Well, I've heard plenty of stories about American soldiers doing that, so if that's what you're going for, then, I mean, probably. Dude, here's the thing, man. A lot of those good old country boys are shooting birds out of the air. What's the difference between shooting, a fucking 14-inch long grenade out of the air versus, a dove? Or
One
clay
has
pigeons?
intent.
Well, yeah, one explodes. One kind of just falls to the ground.
Well, at least you could take the bird home and and have it for dinner. I don't really know how good shrapnel from a steel hand grenade's going to taste in a bowl of
I
cereal.
don't think I want to taste that one.
But we're all good Americans. We wake up and put shrapnel and gunpowder in our cereal. Or at least I do. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
It sounds like your record's.
I
a lot
use
better
black
than mine,
powder.
though.
I don't use smokeless powder, Tommy.
Oh, you sissy.
I kind of like to throw it back. I'm original. But yeah, dude. Honestly, man, I feel like that actually happened where they're shooting those grenades out of the sky. I've heard that from multiple different people, and I could totally see that. I've seen people try
to test it. Do I think it could happen? Yes. Do I think people could do it at a high success rate? I don't know, man.
Probably not, because, dude, the weight of those grenades as opposed to like a bird, bro, it's not throwing that stick grenade off of its trajectory.
No, I mean,
you would unless you're using a super
hit.
fucking tight choke, which I doubt they were.
No, they weren't.
Because I don't think they even had them in those 87s.
Not for
it
the
might
riot
make it spin
guns.
a little bit, but it ain't changing.
Unfortunately,
It ain't
not for
changing
the
that.
riot guns. I know in Winchester's catalog, you could because it was Winchester, so you could just pull up the old Sears Roebuck and order God knows what and have it shipped to your door. God, the glory days.
For $27, you can get this rifle.
So,
Dude,
I think the question that we need to be, asking isn't like, can we do it, but is it believable that an American would do it? And yes, it absolutely
it
is.
is.
Oh,
Why not?
100%.
I mean,
I'm optimistic. I would like to see it. I would like to imagine it.
I think time tells a better story because even today, with those Chinese spy balloons, they're like, don't shoot those. Don't try to shoot those down. Like we are just prone to trying to shoot things that are in the air. So
well, I think it's ingrained in the American psyche when the minute you try to tell us we can't do something, we're gonna immediately turn around and try to do it.
Immediately makes me want to do it. The fact that someone doesn't
Just
want
boils
me
my
to
blood.
use a slam fire shotgun makes my blood pump and immediately turns me into
Well, and that's kind of the irony of the whole situation. So the war ends November 1918. So by October, based off what I've read, it was about 500 or so 97 trench guns with bayonets on the front, and probably another 400 to 600 of the Remington Model 10 shotguns. The Army Ordnance Office had ordered 50,000 shotguns for use in the war, but this was in the intent that they'd be used in 1919 when the final blow was supposed to come. But the war ends before these orders are ever delivered. So I think it's kind of ironic, though, when you really stop and think about the fact that the Germans are getting all upset for the use of guns that made up a non.01%, if that, of all weapons on the front lines by the time the war comes to an armistice.
Yeah, I would do despicable things to get my hands on one of those, an original one.
$7,000.
Yeah, $7,000 from Rock Island.
And it can be yours.
Tommy, how pissed would you have been if I actually bought that thing?
I might have used the last of my disposable income just to fly out to Arizona and smack you.
Yeah.
I don't care what it would have cost. I would have sold a kidney
For those
if I
of
had
you
to.
who are interested, Rock Island has a badass 1897 Winchester for about, I don't know, maybe $7,500. Nothing crazy.
But,
fuck, man, the thing is beautiful. I was tempted. I was looking at it. I just,
and the nice thing is, the nice thing about Rock Island is, so Rock Island goes through their due diligence to make sure that the guns are properly marked and they know exactly what they're selling. Because the sad reality is the 97 was produced from the 1890s, I think, until like the 1960s. I mean, this thing's production life was long. It was just that popular. So it is not uncommon in the American market to find these guns that someone has bubbaed to look like.
Oh, God, that breaks my heart that you just said that. Dude, the fact that some people can get these, these antique firearms from pawn shops and they just bubba like an 1897
Oh, they don't know what
or
they're
whatever
doing.
it may be. It truly breaks my heart. I have no other words because they don't know what they're chopping up and they destroy it. They destroy a piece of history and it's gone.
So are we not starting Bubba manufacturing?
No, we're still starting Bubba manufacturing. Why wouldn't we?
Here's the thing. It's only Bubba if you're destroying something. If you're either trying to reconvert or preserve it, it's different.
You
Because
can
think
fuck
about it,
something up and not destroy it. That doesn't mean it's
That's
not
true.
Bubba.
Oh, well, I
I've
mean,
seen
it's
plenty of Glock frames that
Have
people
you-
like to work on themselves that are
Oh, you can't-
atrocious. And
you
that's a whole
can't-
new episode.
You can't Bubba a Glock. A Glock has to be valued in order to be.
No,
You haven't.
here we go. No, that's a new episode right there.
Yeah, you haven't been on Reddit long enough to see that then. 'cause
Take your Walter PDP somewhere else,
Yeah.
okay?
Dude, I wish I had a PDP. God, those were so nice.
What are you
My uncle just
carrying,
got
Tommy?
one, and it's
What are you
crazy.
carrying, Tommy? Today?
It's not on me right now, but I carry a CZ.
Stay strapped or get clapped. George Washington,
See,
1770.
Probably.
we brought ours. We brought ours just in case you were gonna try to fly out here and hurt Garrett. So we were just self-defense. So what are you rocking today, Garrett?
Just my regular Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS version. Obviously, I got the red dot on top. I'm just rocking Holosun 508T. I got some Trijicon night sight suppressor height for when I do get that can. ATF.
Have you?
Clear me. +5 base plate, so I'm holding 20 plus 1.
Oh, nice.
TLR1 high lumen 1100 light. So
Did you upgrade the trigger or the slide on that yet?
no, and here's my reasoning behind that. I shoot well enough with my Glocks as it is, even with Glocks are notorious for having that kind of mushy trigger. I mean it's a clean break off of that wall and a decent reset, but I don't want to spend 150, 200 bucks, whatever it may be, if I'm getting a Timony trigger or just even a new trigger shoe. I shoot well enough as it is to where I don't feel the need for it, right? I've practiced enough to where I don't want to replace it, right? I put hundreds, if not thousands of rounds through that thing already with the stock trigger. Runs flawless for me. So
Yep. I'm running with my Shadow Systems DR920 Foundation series.
piece of shit.
And
Jealousy.
if you know, you know about Shadow Systems. So I'm also
man.
I'm running the same red dot as Garrett, the 508T from Holosun, and I have the Streamlight TLR1 flashlight on there. So I got my holster on the way. That's why I'm looking like a little pleb.
Yeah,
without the holster.
I would just like to point out for the clarity of the audience here that we've got one man in this call who's got an absolute beautiful competition shooter for a carry, and then the other one's just got an overpriced piece of Austrian Tupperware.
Whatever. Yeah, right, dude. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna sneak over here when you're not expecting me, and I'm gonna swap out some parts from your Shadow Systems and throw it in my Glock. One day, dude, you're just gonna see me pull up with my 19, and it's gonna have your threaded barrel, probably your polished
You
trigger
already did
bar.
that one time.
I know I did that one time. I didn't get away with it, but I will get away with it eventually. So maybe I'll just steal your. No.
Good luck.
It's a 17 slide.
I want to turn back to the shot to the trench gun just real quick because
That's
I know
one of our rants.
because I know I'm probably gonna upset people, some people who listen to this. I know it's gonna ruffle one or both of your feathers on this, but
I'm already upset.
personally,
Oh, I know what you're about to say, dude. This is gonna be a hot take on why you don't like the 1897, huh? Whatever, dude. Here we go.
If I'm poor
Put your
enough to
boots
get
on.
drafted, if I'm poor enough to get drafted into combat and have to go fight in God knows what marsh in no man's land, I don't think I want to take the 97 with me. Because here's my reasoning. The 97 is great for when you're in the trench. The problem is I have to make it to the trench. And in a lot of cases, the distance between my trench and the other guy, 150, 200, 250 yards or more.
It's a long run, brother.
And eventually, those German Maxim guns are going to kill everybody else around me or just knock them down. So I'd be out of luck
All
at that
Quiet
point.
on the Western Front. Good new movie on
That's a good
Netflix if
movie.
anyone hasn't
I
seen
have
it.
yet to watch it. I've got a copy upstairs. I've yet to watch the new Netflix movie.
Dude, Tommy, it's awesome. Literally what you just explained with the Maxim guns and running across the field to the enemy trenches is like 80% of the movie. It's wicked.
Sounds better.
There was a really good cover of that movie by Wendigoon on YouTube, and it's like I think it's like an hour long, but it's awesome. It really is.
But no, that's the thing. And the other thing is, think about it. Shotguns are more often than not using some type of a paper or like reinforced shell, so like they're easy to disperse. Those shells get wet in the middle of French-German mud. You're going to get one round off, and then the whole system's going to freeze up on you. So I would rather, and I know for people who know firearms, this is going to sound absolutely ludicrous. I would rather be using a French Lebel 1886 bolt action than a trench gun if I was forced to. I would take the terrible French rifle solely because I can reach out across no man's land and hit someone.
You were so shocked you hit your pop
I'm shocked.
filter.
I was so shocked that I just hit my microphone, Tommy. You're telling me, dude, you're traversing through the freaking trenches in France, and you're going to take that over just a shotgun in general?
Yes, actually, I would.
I understand.
Because you know what?
That's absurd, Tommy.
I understand
that's
the paper.
absurd.
I understand the paper shell argument. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'd still much rather have the shotgun than a just disgusting French rifle.
Tommy, that might have been fucking hot take of the week, bro. I mean, really, dog, in the trenches? That's crazy.
Well,
That's
I think regardless of what happens is if I stumble across a German stormtrooper with an MP-18, I'm killing his ass and taking the MP-18.
Dude, if you make it to the trenches in general, you're lucky. So
yeah. Oh God. Okay.
Be thankful you made it there anyway.
Because one of two things happens on the road to the trench. Either you get killed by your own creeping barrage because your artillery gunners are completely uneducated and have no idea what they're doing, or you're getting shot. You're getting mowed down by a Maxim gun. There is very, very little room for error there.
I'll pass on both of them. So
then the silent killer trench foot.
gangrene.
Yeah,
bro.
Once you actually get in there, and then you're.
Oh no!
God.
What a way to go.
Dude,
I don't know what would be worse, bro. In all honesty, I might take a bullet over dying from an infection like that any day of the week.
Yeah.
Bro, the rats in the trenches.
oh my God.
Bro, they're like fucking capybaras.
There is just
bro. Have you seen them? Have you seen the pictures?
they were-
and
No,
stories of them?
I've seen pictures
Bro,
of the rats in the trenches.
nuts.
there is
don't wanna be
just
there in
one
general.
there is just one picture that comes to mind. It was from a German trench. I want to say on the Eastern Front. And this dude literally built himself like a dude, his poor bastard was tall too, but it was like a 6 foot long, like sarcophagus top that he would put over himself when sleeping in the trench. It was made of chicken wire because it was the only thing he could build to keep the rats off him.
Keep the rats off of them. Dude, they could probably make a fucking sport out of that, bro.
They did.
Just, bro, use the 1897s to hunt some big ass rats, dude. That's like free entertainment out there.
Absolutely.
You know?
God,
I
those
mean,
things-
instead of hunting dove or quail or whatever it is, you can't necessarily eat the rats, but bro, if I was dying for some
You can.
entertainment,
It
I
doesn't
might
mean you
take that
should.
sport on. Yeah, it doesn't mean you should.
I feel like if you were a Russian soldier, you probably ended up eating rats. God knows your rations never made it to you on time.
Dude. Yeah. But Tommy, let's take it back to the 1897 and talk about a little bit about how it inspired some more modern platforms, 870s, 590A1s, 500s and whatnot.
Well,
Yeah, whatever.
So the 97 basically the 97, at least from a pump action perspective, because John Browning also designed the Auto 5, the birth of the modern. Actually, I would make the argument now, more that I think about it, that the Auto 5 to someone in 1905 was basically what the Benelli M4 is now.
You're talking about the Browning A5, Tommy?
Of course.
Dude, I don't want to get you super off track, but before I forget this, dude, I got to work on a sick Browning Auto 5.
Really?
Yeah, someone in my parents' neighborhood, he's a super old guy. It was his older brothers, and it was from like it was from the 50s. I think it was the late 50s where they outsourced all their manufacturing to Japan. So it was one of like the limited runs of there. So dude, I got to break this thing down. I got to take all the rust off, re-oil it, fix it all up, and dude, that thing shreds now for being how old it is.
Yep.
Bro, it was awesome. I have a serious love for Browning Auto 5s, bro. I
That
love
is-
those. I
that
used to see
might
them all
be-
the time at the shooting range too.
That might be my absolute favorite story involving John Browning and Winchester, because when Browning pitched the idea to Winchester, the CEO of the company, Marcellus Hartley, was like, you know what? It's a great idea, but I don't know what we're going to do for it, John. Does anybody really want an auto shotgun? And he's like, all right, takes it right over to FN in Remington.
Yeah, no shit. Here's the cool thing about those auto 5s too. One, it's a super distinct look, right? You kind of have that shelf that drops off the back, so you know it right when you see it. Yep. But dude, one of the really cool things is that since it's basically a piston-driven system, you know, those old like inertia systems, dude, you can take that spring out when you're taking the barrel off. You can flip it over and you can change like how fast your action works, right? So if you're shooting some low brass shells or some low pressured shells, you can flip the spring and it'll make it actually cycle it better as opposed to shooting like, you know, a fucking 3-inch Magnum. Right. Yeah. So you have, dude, those things are really diverse, man. That's crazy. It's really cool that you can just break it down, flip a spring, and then you're shooting different loads. It's really cool.
It is just one of my favorite stories, though, about how, like, basically, Hartley, literally, it was one of the first many problems that Browning had with Winchester and why he moved on over to Remington Arms. But it starts this whole thing with Winchester that they had to come out with their own auto loaders, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but basically instead of, because Browning locked down the charging handle on the bolt, so they had to go with a barrel charging system where you basically would pull down, and that's how you would rack the action. And it got the nickname the Widowmaker because there was some problems with the firing pin, let's put it that way.
Say P320 shout out.
God. Hey, they fixed it.
If you know, dude, I'm a huge fan of those 320s, but that was kind of scary for a little bit. I don't know. I do get what you're saying, dude. The Widowmakers, yeah, it's a problem.
Oh God, but it is just such a fantastic story, and that to me is one of the things why I've always loved like some of these older guns, because these guns are attached to people and they're attached to like the rise and fall, whether it be the rise and fall of empires or the rise and fall of certain businesses. I mean, the Auto 5 shotgun, for example, is the gun that built Remington shotguns and what would eventually lead to things like the 870 eventually down the line. Like without
another classic great option. Lasts you forever. I have like 4 of them at home.
4 of them?
Just 870s, bro. Here's the thing.
You don't have, don't tell me you have 4?
I promise you I do. I have 220s and 212s. But one, because those are my hunting guns. You know, when I go out and hunt dove, I'm bringing an 870, dude. And I'm not bringing my $2,800 freaking Beretta out there. That's not gonna happen, dude. No. Here's the thing.
Why do you have 2 of each?
Just because I can't.
Hold on.
Because they're great
do you
guns.
Bring somebody out with you, and then
one's wood, one's synthetic.
Oh, okay.
Yada yada. They look different. But yeah, dude, my uncle brought his like $2,600 Beretta out dove hunting. The thing's beautiful. It's a It's a Beretta A400 like Action Explorer or something. It's the really one with like the raised rib. Forgot what the actual model is called. Beautiful gun. It's made for competition, and he brought it out there. I'm gonna break some hearts, but he dropped it when he was out there, and that thing got all scratched up, dude. When I saw it, my heart dropped, because I have like the hunting and sporting version of that gun, and even then, I still don't dare bring that thing out there. I mean, it has a good like burnt bronze Cerakote and everything, but dude, grade A walnut, I don't want to drop that on a rock.
No,
it's gonna fuck up the stock. It's just not gonna happen, bro.
I'll say this, and
that's why I have
gotten
870s, man.
Okay,
I have, and now Garrett, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of those 870s are probably going to be polymer, right?
Yeah, I got 2 polymers and then 2 woods.
Okay. Because at that point, like, if you want a gun that you don't care about getting like a little bit of dinged and battered, but it's still going to function fine. Buy an
shotgun for
buy an 870. I mean, there's a reason why police departments and special forces. I mean, hell, the German GSG-9 still to this day uses a variation of the 870 pump action. And
if, in all honesty, dude, if I had to choose a shotgun for reliability, I would probably choose one of my 870s. I love my Beretta to death. It's not my favorite gun anymore because of some of the stuff that I have, but it was for a long time because I shot thousands of rounds through it. But I don't know, man. I still think I would venture and say, and some people might disagree with this, but an 870 might be my go-to, bro. It really would be, because I don't have to worry about messing it up, and bro, that thing's it's gonna run.
Matt over there
how many
thinking
rounds
he
you put
either
through it, how dry it is, it's gonna run.
I'm just buying it like on my phone under the table.
no
Matt's just following. It's on its way here.
Matt over there thinking to himself, I would much rather be using a Benelli M4 or a Franke Spaz 12.
And he
well,
wrong.
the
Benelli M4,
Benelli M4,
absolutely.
yes.
Spaz 12
Spaz
is
12.
cool and as iconic, clever girl of a shotgun that it is.
Girl.
Bro, the Spaz 12 is kind of a POS. I mean,
Oh,
it's a sick system. You can go from semi-auto to pump. At the
But
click
it
of a
doesn't
button on
it
your
doesn't do
handguard.
either
But
one
it's a piece
well.
of shit. Yeah, I was gonna say it
it's-
doesn't really excel in either way.
So, it's mediocre at
Rip.
best in both categories, but if you're trying to run it semi-auto, you've got to be using heavy-duty slugs, basically.
Dude, I'm telling you, bro,
Otherwise,
it's so popular because of the iconic movies it's in,
And
Modern
video
Warfare
games.
2 and shit like
being
that.
the ultimate
Sick on, I'd love to
sidearm
have
shotgun.
one. I'd love to have one, but bro, I'm not.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like
It's whatever.
it's notorious for
whatever.
the film and video games and all those things that it's actually been represented in. So that's half the reason why people even know about it.
Yeah.
But the Benelli M4 is time true tested.
I can think of a lot.
Really appreciate that one.
I can think of a lot of Marines who would still to this day say they would trust their life with the Benelli
M4's the
M4.
goat, man. Absolutely.
But I mean,
God damn it,
but again-
I want one too. I'll tell you that.
But again, going back to
Don't be mad if I do it.
those military shotguns, you don't get the Benelli M4 without the trench gun. I mean, the whole idea of it still stems from because again, and even especially back then, using a shotgun in warfare didn't make sense. Like there was no what we have now a lot of, which is street to street, house to house, a lot of close quarters fighting. Everything back then was all long range. That's why every rifle back then was taller than me, even with a bayonet. I mean, hell, a French Lebel with a Rosalie was like 6'6", I think.
Jesus.
Japanese Arasakas were 6 foot tall. The average Japanese soldier was 5'5". I'm 5'6" for to put that into perspective.
It's Tommy. It's like that Mosin that I have from 1913. I think I sent you pictures of it, bro. That
You
thing
have.
is tall as shit, bro. Especially with the bayonet. I have the original bayonet for it, bro. That thing's almost like 6 feet tall. It can't fit in my safe. It's almost ridiculous because it was
Yep.
it was one of those long range versions of it for marksman and stuff like that. So it's
Well,
kinda
it wasn't
funky
even-
seeing
it
those
wasn't even
super long
necessarily-
versions of it.
It wasn't even marksman. The problem was is the people when these guns came out for God knows what reason, people were still almost like attached to this idea that it was like still like the Zulu Wars or the American Revolution where you're firing in rank and file. I mean, hell, the rifles before that gun comes out had magazine cutoffs, so the soldiers would not be wasting ammunition. I mean, that's how backward some of this thinking was. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you think about it in hindsight. You're like, there's no way. But again, such were the times.
Yeah. Times change, that's for sure. But without that 1897, Tommy, you're right. I don't think we have any of those modern platforms. I mean, it is, kind of having those stepping stones to our modern shotguns that we know and love. And there's so many of them.
I can't get it out of my head, Garrett. I wasn't mocking you for the Remington 870s. I have 3 shotguns myself.
Yeah, I know, and you
They're-
still want to buy
yeah,
more. It
I
fucking
know.
bothers the shit out
Now,
of me. Dude.
I will,
Here's the thing about Matt. I'm gonna interrupt you because
Go
this
ahead.
genuinely upsets me.
I'm
Matt texts me on like a weekly basis. Garrett, should I buy this shotgun? Oh my god, dude! There's a Benelli M4. I want to buy this. I'm like,
On
Matt,
sale, on sale,
Matt,
on sale.
brother, you have 3 shotguns, and bro, buy a 5.56 or something. Like, bro, expand out.
Well,
You know?
I think
dude, it kills me.
we'll keep the gun a secret for now. But
Oh, God.
my most recent purchase was the reason why I'm not getting the Benelli M4 anytime soon.
I
'Cause
would
that-
just
it
like
was
to
either-
point out.
it was either the
Give
Benelli
you a
or it
hint.
was this.
It has a
and I-
54R on the end of it.
Yeah, there's 54R on the end of it.
I just love that night so much. Tommy, it's on sale. It's on sale. I'm like, don't.
Tommy,
don't-
what did you buy shortly after that?
I don't want to talk about it because now I'm.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about
Let's just say
Let's
we
just
got
say
our-
Tommy and Matt spent some money together. We'll say
Let's
that.
just say we got it from the same place
Yeah, dude.
and maybe from the same manufacturing town.
Dude.
And,
You never cease to amaze me. You and your shotguns, Matt. I'll give you props though. You do love your shotguns.
I do.
So, hey, I
That
was
is
like
one.
that
That is
too.
one thing I have.
And then
That is one thing I have
I
yet
had
to
a-
buy.
Yeah, I had a pivotal life.
Well, you have
change.
2 people you can go to, Tommy. Garrett,
Yeah, no,
Garrett can
seriously.
actually hit
No.
something. I went for 70 out of 100 on my
That's
over
that's
under.
pretty good,
Yeah,
dude.
on
That's
my over
better
under.
than most people.
Yep.
I'll tell you that.
So
I am going to. I know I'm going to upset you all by this. I don't care. I really don't. I'm buying a KSG. That is going to be my first shotgun purchase. Is a Kel-Tec KSG.
Dude,
Don't
here's
you
the thing
at
about
me.
Kel-Tec. Here's the thing about Kel-Tec.
Cancel your plane ticket.
Kel-Tec is cancel your plane ticket right now. You're not coming.
you're not coming over.
Yeah, dude, seriously. Kel-Tec, man, I feel like people hype Kel-Tec up so much, especially their shotguns. Like the DP12. The DP12 is cool. Like it's a cool design. Would I buy one? Probably not. They just got some funky shit, man. The KSG is cool. It's one of the exceptions.
Why do they
in my mind.
bullpup everything? That's my question. Everything they make is bullpup.
God damn it, Tommy. Here we go again. That's another episode too. Bullpups, hate them.
Okay.
Unless it's like an OG Styrog.
Bull. I was gonna say if it's the bullpup like for the
or
rifles,
if it's
like
a
how they were
Tavor or
intended,
something
then
like
yes,
that.
that's fine.
But there's
But
a lot of shitty Kel-Tec bullpups and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Some people love Kel-Tec, so I don't know.
well, wasn't Tommy? You can correct me if I'm wrong, real quick, and we'll get back to the trench gun in a second. But wasn't the bullpup design meant for rifles and not for shotguns? And now everyone just shifted the platform over to the shotguns. Now everybody
Well, I
and their
mean-
mother has a bullpup shotgun.
Oh my god, it's so short.
Pretty-
and compact, you know, it's
Yeah.
Well, but like that's just it though, right? So like there are bullpups going back to I think like the Thorncroft. Ian from Forgotten Weapons has a new book on this because the British were the first ones to do it, and it's how they get to the L85. We don't talk about the L85; it's terrible. But point is, this really comes to a head in the 1970s when the French army is looking to replace their, I think their G3s or whatever. And basically, the French are like, okay, all of our troops are mechanized. We're putting them into armored vehicles. So what are we going to do? We're going to just compact the distance of our rifles, and that's where you get the FAMAS from. And then the AUG comes out around the same time. And look, they're not bad guns, and the idea is sound. It really is. But the problem is that freaking trigger bar, man, is horrible.
dude, it's mush, bro. Having that extremely long trigger bar, you know, traveling down the fucking side of your gun or inside your gun like that, it makes it mush, you know. And you're right, Tommy. Stuff like the Styrog, it's iconic. I would die to have an original Styrog. You know, fucking
We all
Die
would.
Hard, bro. That scene where he wakes back up and flings it out, dude, awesome, bro. But
Quick poll
I
to
don't know,
all
man. I
the
think
quick
a
poll to
lot of
everybody
the
watching.
time-
Is
Go.
Die Hard a
Is it a
Christmas film?
Christmas
I think
movie?
we can-
Yes, it is.
I think we can safely say it is.
Anyways, I just think a lot of bullpups are poorly executed. My
They are.
opinion.
They're absolutely horribly
A
executed.
lot of
Now I
people
will say
probably
the
disagree
best.
with me, but
Although I will say the other thing, the most redeeming factor about the KSG is its 2-magazine system, though. The ability to load, say, buck and slug is actually it's very unique. You don't really get that type of flexibility with a lot of shotguns. I mean, you
it'd be pretty fun loading that up for someone. Give them a spicy round to mix into one of those tubes. Just catch them off guard. Yeah.
Hey, all I'm saying is if it's good enough for John Wick, it's good enough for me.
If it's good enough for John, dude, new John Wick coming out soon.
Oh,
Should be pretty cool.
isn't it supposed to be like the longest one too? It's like 3 hours or something.
Probably, dude. Honestly, I forgot what even happened in the last one. So, John Wick does have some pretty sick shotguns, though. Terran Tactical.
Oh, yeah.
Shit right there, bro. He has
Daniel
some cool
Defense
shit.
AR.
Damn, that's a whole nother episode, too.
Yeah, we got plenty to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty to talk about with that.
So, Tommy, what else do you want to cover on the model 1897?
I mean, I want to say that we've kind of touched on a lot of things. I know we even got into some of the pros and cons, which I wanted to talk about. But again, that's more of a personal choice thing when it comes down to it. Because again, if you're lucky enough to get to the trench once crossing no man's land, the shotgun might be the best thing to have second to a grenade or an MP18. The downside is if those shells get wet, which I heard there were workarounds for, you're kinda SOL. I mean, you might end up getting domed by a German with a trench Luger. So who knows?
Yeah, with the translator. Yeah, and that's, you know, like you mentioned earlier, bro, times change. You know, back then in 1897 in the trenches would have been sick, but, you know, it's so different now that, bro, honestly, I don't feel comfortable grabbing a shotgun over my Glock or something like that if I really needed to. You know, if someone's
God,
coming
no.
into my house, I can tell you right now I'm not grabbing a shotgun over my Glock. 1, comfortability-wise, and 2, I'm not putting, you know, aught buck through my drywall And
Well, it's a lot. It's also a lot easier to repair drywall from a 9mm hollow point than it is from 12 gauge buck or a slug.
Exactly. I just, systems are so different now. Just the feel of shotguns, versus pistols or even, SBRs, a 300 blackout, right? I would grab my 300 blackout over a shotgun
Cap,
any day of
cope.
the week still. Whatever.
Cope.
Anyways. But yeah, man, I mean, it's crazy. That goes from being one of the most popular items that you can, defend yourself with to, I mean, it's probably still up there, but I feel like a lot of people are kind of, I don't know.
Well, but
In my
I
opinion,
think the one
it's
thing.
not the best way to go anymore. Could be
Now,
wrong,
here's the other thing, though. You hear somebody rack the action. You hear somebody rack the action of any firearm. It's gonna scare them. But that iconic sound of just, it's enough to send somebody back out the window, down the street, 45 yards before you could even point
Tommy,
the gun
here's
at them.
the thing. There's already going to be one in the chamber. So
well,
they're
any
not gonna
smart
hear a
person
rack
has
as
one.
They're not going to hear a rack as it is. Dude, I can tell you right now, bro, if someone's breaking into my house and, say I do grab a shotgun, I'm not going to intentionally rack it to try to scare them. What is that? It's
Careful.
they're probably not even going to notice what it is first.
I'm just gonna
Right.
play "Welcome to the Jungle" on my smart
I'm
home
gonna play
speakers.
Fortunate Son while I ride around in a Huey. It's, exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, there are plenty of good options for it. The Mossberg Shockwave and stuff like that. There are awesome.
Well, I mean,
examples of
what about
shotguns
your?
for
How would you
defense.
say your
It's just not my
VR180
personal
is,
favorite.
Matt?
It is under my bed.
I had.
It's like a shotgun under my
Yeah.
pillow. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that thing's pretty fun too, bro.
I'm still of the
That's
opinion
fast.
that we defend our homes the way the founding fathers intended. A cannon on the top of the stairs, loaded with grape shot, and my tri-pointed bayonet on a flintlock musket, powdered wig and all, of course, just as the founders intended.
Yeah, you could rock a powdered wig. I could see it.
God, I can see Tommy wearing
Hey,
that.
I would make an excellent member of 19th century European aristocracy.
Oh my
Don't you
God,
laugh
whatever,
at me.
dude.
Don't
There
you
go.
laugh
Put
at
your boots
me.
on. But yeah, man. I mean, I really do want to get more back into shotguns. I've kind of focused solely on ARs and shit like that for the past
God,
couple of years since I stopped competing. God damn it, dude! Just thinking about it, I really need to start shooting trap and skeet again, getting back into those.
We'll do an episode.
Dude, even if it is, break action shotguns are a total different story too. I love those, bro. Parazzis, the Beretta 686 Silver Pigeons and shit like that. That's a whole nother topic too, because they don't.
Well,
really
and that's the other
97 at all, but.
Well, actually, it does, because that's the funny thing. Europe had break-action shotguns. Kaiser Wilhelm hunted with double-barreled 12 gauge and 10 gauges all the time. And, again, no one cared, and no one would ever take those into a combat zone, because you had the left barrel and the right barrel, or the upper barrel and the lower barrel.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that was all you had. And but again, no one would ever... This is not Call of Duty World at War, where you're on the Russian front with a double-barrel shotgun just running around a German trench here. And it would never work. The only
725
reason
for Modern Warfare, the most toxic gun you can play with.
put a 12 power scope on it and
No
take a
stock, a
hacksaw on the
12 power
barrel.
scope, yeah. Put the slugs in it. Like you're set.
Dude, it was so
Undefeated.
dumb. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
But then again, I used to run around with a 870 in Battlefield with a 12 power scope on it. So am I much better? Not really.
Yeah, no, I do want to get more back into that shotgun stuff. I've kind of fallen out of it.
We'll make
It's
an
like-
episode out of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's not like I forgot
that would be
anything
good.
about it or how to compete and shoot like that. I'd obviously have to get back into it and train. But that's definitely something I want to get back into, man. It's that was kind of like my first love when it came to firearms with shotguns, because I've always been good at it. So
we can have an episode on that on
Yeah,
those shotguns,
perfect.
like I've already said. But definitely go over different platforms for shotguns you most prefer. You're talking about your Beretta A400 Explorer. I definitely like the Mossberg Gold International Reserve, the Super Sport. That's a nice over under though. But overall, I think it's going to look pretty good for an episode later down the road. We can bring in our different firearms
and a lot of the episodes that we're going to go over, I'll give a little teaser for next week's. I'm going to bring some of my very high end rifles in. I'm going to break them down on what's different from a basic AR between trigger systems and stuff like that. So there are going to be a lot of episodes breaking down certain aspects of weapons.
Yep.
Like for those shotgun episodes, I'll bring my Beretta A400 and I'll show you like the blink gas system and the piston and how it all works. I mean, it's a very simple system, but dude, it's so fast. It's crazy. So
it's rather remarkable too for a company that started off as designing handguns like Beretta, capable of making really nice shotguns. Beretta makes great stuff now.
Beretta.
I don't own any.
Usually my go-to, man. I love them.
Yep.
I don't own anything Beretta yet, but I've shot a lot of Berettas and M9s, APXs. It's weird. I don't want to ever. I feel like when I say Italian craftsmanship, I'm either talking about a Stradivarius or a Ferrari. But in this case, the Italians finally got something right at least when it comes to firearms. That is.
Yeah. No,
although there's one
nice stuff, I'll give it to them.
Although there is one particular event in American history that the Italians somewhat responsible for. We may or may not have been a second shooter. We don't really know.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, God.
I already know where this is going.
It's another episode.
Matt,
Don't get into a rant.
I know.
Matt, that's going to be your episode.
Oh, no, it's not.
No, Tommy, that could be your episode, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll take that one. We'll push that one aside.
I think
for
we're bouncing around to these next episodes, so I think this is a great place to call it for today.
Yeah.
But everyone, thank you for watching.
Yeah.
If you're watching on
Absolutely.
YouTube or Rumble, be sure to hit the like and Rumble buttons and make sure to subscribe on those platforms. And you can find us anywhere that you're getting your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, basically anywhere. Just find us, Ballistic Banter. And thanks, guys, so much.
Hopefully you enjoy the arguing. So,
Yeah, I'm sure they
there's a lot more of it to come, especially with more modern
boy.
platforms. So it's going to get spicy.
All
Stay
right.
tuned.
Until next week. Thanks, guys.
Take care.